Welcome to The Open Mic, where bold stories spark big conversations.
Glad to be here for this one.
We are dedicating this entire session to unpacking a story that is complex, emotional, and frankly, a little terrifying because of just how relatable it is.
It really is terrifying. We're looking at a story that sits right at this intersection of parenting, mental health, and the very specific, highly curated reality of the digital age.
Right.
It's a story about control, about fear, and really about the invisible architecture that governs our screens every day.
Exactly. And to guide us through this, we are looking at a really comprehensive news report. It's by Julia Sidwell from the Daily Mail.
And it's not just a quick headline.
No, not at all. It's not a puff piece. It is a hard, in-depth look at the mechanics of social media and eating disorders, all told through the lens of one family's survival. And I have to give a massive shout out right at the top here. Thank you, Jasa, for putting this on our radar. It is a heavy one, but it is absolutely necessary.
It is necessary, and I think what makes this specific source material so compelling is that it takes something we all talk about abstractly, right? Like we say screen time or algorithms or the mental health crisis.
Right, the buzzwords.
Exactly, the buzzwords. But this puts a human face on it. It moves us from statistics to very real, very painful specifics.
So let's set the scene here. And I really want you, the listener, to picture this because honestly, if you have kids or maybe nieces and nephews, or even if you just remember being a teenager yourself, this is going to resonate.
Oh, absolutely.
Picture the universal parental worry. You're a parent in the modern world. You're worried about screens. You're worried about who your kid is talking to online.
Standard operating procedure for modern parenting.
Right. You're checking the messages. You're checking the contacts. You're looking for the
external threats, the bad guys.
The bad guys, exactly. But then throw in a global lockdown.
Yeah, that changed everything.
Suddenly that screen isn't just a distraction anymore. It is the lifeline. It is the literal only window to the outside world.
It's the classroom, the playground, the social club, all wrapped up into one glowing rectangle in their hands.
And that is exactly where we meet Sarah Truncheon and her daughter Eloise.
And this brings us right to the central tension of today's discussion. We often call it the wellness paradox.
The wellness paradox. Let's dig into that.
Yeah, so we are going to look at how content that is explicitly designed and marketed to be about health, fitness, nutrition, the good stuff, how that can just spiral into a life-threatening digital trap. We are talking about the phenomenon known as Skinnytok.
Skinnytok. Even the name sounds, it sounds sharp, doesn't it?
It does.
It sounds exclusive and cutting.
It's very cutting, and it's incredibly dangerous. We're going to look at how a simple search for health turned into a battle for survival. We're going to really deconstruct how the algorithm takes a simple curiosity and weaponizes it against the user.
So here is our roadmap for this deep dive. We are going to walk through the story of Eloise Truncheon, starting from before the world shut down. We're going to break down the mechanics of the algorithm that trapped her, how it actually functions.
Which is fascinating and terrifying.
Very. Then we are going to confront the reality of eating disorders and how they manifest in a family home. The things you don't see in the movies. We'll touch on the current political debate happening right now regarding social media bans. And finally, we are going to look at the roadmap to recovery and advocacy.
It is a journey from darkness back into the light. But look, we have to understand the darkness first.
We do.
We have to look at the trap before we can truly understand the escape.
So let's unpack this. Section 1, the Trojan horse. I call it that because, this didn't look like a problem at first. It looked like health.
Right, self-improvement.
Exactly. Let's talk about the before picture. Who was Eloise before the algorithm got its hooks in?
Well, according to the report by Julia Sidwell, Eloise was your quintessential, happy, healthy teenager. She was 15 years old at the start of this timeline.
Okay.
And that age is important, right? 15 is a threshold year.
Right.
You're not a child anymore, but you certainly aren't an adult. You are actively figuring out who you are.
And she wasn't just sitting around her room, right?
Yeah.
She wasn't the stereotype of a depressed, isolated teen before this all started.
No, quite the opposite. She was very active. Her life revolved around dancing, swimming, hanging out with friends. She was physically engaged with the world.
That feels like a crucial detail.
It is, because it completely dismantles the stereotype that eating disorders only happen to kids who are already isolated or deeply unhappy. Eloise was vibrant. She had a full tank of life.
But then the world stops. Lockdown hits. And I mean, I think we all have a bit of PTSD from that time, but try to put yourself back in the shoes of a 15-year-old active girl.
The shift is just seismic. We go from external interaction, physical dancing, physical swimming, actual face-to-face conversations where you can see body language and nuance to a life that revolves entirely around the phone.
The phone becomes the proxy for reality.
Exactly. Movement stops. Connection becomes entirely digital.
And this is where the mother, Sarah Truncheon, comes in. I really feel for Sarah in this story. She's sitting there looking at her daughter. And what is she seeing? Because she's not seeing Eloise looking at, say, violence or explicit content.
Right. She's not on the dark web.
No.
Sarah is sitting on the sofa in their home in West Sussex. She sees Eloise flicking through TikTok and Instagram. And what is actually on the screen? It's images of beautiful, toned women, recipes for salads, tips for a happy, healthy life, green juices, yoga poses.
And Sarah's internal monologue is basically, well, at least the influences are positive. At least she's looking at health.
Exactly. And that is what we call the safety illusion. This is a critical concept for parents to understand. We are conditioned to worry about stranger danger.
Right.
We worry about grooming, predators, and rightfully so. Those are very real threats. But because we are so focused on the who is talking to my child, we often completely overlook the danger of the what. Specifically, the danger of comparison.
That is such a strong distinction. Stranger danger versus mirror danger.
In a way, yes. Sarah actually says in the article, I hate to think how much of that content Eloise watched during her darkest time.
Wow.
She realized too late that while she was looking out for bad guys, the algorithm was quietly feeding Eloise a distorted mirror. Sarah noted that people with eating disorders will never feel validated by this content.
It's a bottomless pit.
It really is, because the image on the screen is always polished, it's always perfect, and it's heavily edited.
So let's talk about that content, the slippery slope. What exactly was Eloise consuming? We mentioned Skinnytok and Fitspo. What does that actually look like on a 15-year-old screen?
It starts out incredibly innocuously. It's workout routines. It's those what I eat in a day clips. I'm sure you've seen them.
Oh, yeah.
Aesthetically pleasing bowls of oatmeal, avocados perfectly sliced, weight loss transformations showing before and after pictures.
Which on the surface sounds motivational. It sounds like, hey, get healthy.
That is the hook. The psychological hook is that these women on the screen appeared to be in control and happy. Now, remember the context we just talked about. Lockdown.
The world is completely out of control.
Nobody knows what's happening with school or the virus or the future. Eloise is stuck inside. She feels she isn't those things. She doesn't feel in control. She doesn't feel happy. So she tries to emulate the people who do.
It's mimicry as a survival mechanism. Like, if I eat the oatmeal, I will feel the happiness.
Precisely. It's magical thinking fueled by visuals. But the message that gets internalized isn't eat vegetables to have energy. The message becomes, your worth depends entirely on your thinness.
And the subtext of Skinnytok is that extreme thinness is the only form of success.
Right. It equates a specific body type with a moral virtue.
And that brings us to the machine itself, because this wasn't just Eloise actively looking for videos. This was the videos coming for Eloise. Let's move to section 2, the algorithm's grip. I want to really dig into this because I think most people don't understand how aggressive this technology actually is.
This is where this story gets highly technological and really quite predatory. We need to completely dispel the myth that the social media feed is a passive list of things you subscribe to.
It hasn't been that way for a long time.
No. The report describes it as weaponizing curiosity. It says the trigger was just one video, one single video about detoxing.
That's it. Just one.
That is all it takes. One data point. The algorithm is a feedback loop designed for engagement, not for accuracy or health. Eloise watches one video on detoxing. Maybe she watches it all the way to the end. Maybe she reads the comments.
The algorithm reads that.
Right. It interprets that interaction not as she is mildly curious, but as she's obsessed. Immediately, it recalibrates. It says, she likes detoxing. Let's give her absolutely everything we have on detoxing.
It's like you ask a question in a whisper, and the machine screams the answer at you 1,000 times.
And it nudges her toward the extreme. The article describes this process as pernicious. It is not passive. We like to think of social media as a library. You go in and pick a book off the shelf. But it's not. It's a broadcaster that follows you around and shouts at you.
And it prioritizes extreme content.
Because extreme content keeps you looking longer than moderate content.
So moderate healthy eating is basically boring to the algorithm. Radical starvation diets are what they call engaging.
Exactly. And it's an aggressive bombardment.
Yeah.
Even when she tried to unfollow accounts, new ones just appeared. It's like playing whack-a-mole with your own insecurities. She would delete one influencer, and the For You page would suggest 3 more just like her.
It creates an echo chamber. If every video you see says, carbs are bad, skip dinner, look at this flat stomach, you start to believe that is the objective reality of the world.
You lose your baseline for what is normal.
That is the key, the loss of the baseline. When you are isolated in lockdown, you don't have friends at the lunch table eating sandwiches to compare things to. You only have the screen.
And the screen is lying.
Let's get specific on the content escalation. It went from healthy recipes to what?
It got dark fast. It moved to low-calorie hacks. Then how to eat under 1,200 calories a day. Now, we need to pause on that number.
1,200.
1,200 calories is roughly what a toddler needs. For a growing, active teenager who used to dance and swim, that is starvation level.
But it's presented as a lifestyle hack.
Yes, girls showing off toned stomachs and what they called tiny meals. It gamifies the hunger. It's like, look how little I can survive on.
And then the pro-Anna accounts.
Yes. This is where it crosses the line into explicit harm. Pro-Anna stands for pro-anorexia. These are communities often hidden behind specific hashtags or code words to avoid being banned that treat anorexia not as a mental illness to be cured, but as a lifestyle choice.
Or a skill to be mastered.
Exactly. They explicitly promote unhealthy weight loss tips. They share ways to hide food from your parents. They share ways to trick doctors.
That is terrifying, to think a 15-year-old is being coached by strangers on how to starve effectively.
And the behavioral impact was immediate. Eloise started feeling that normal eating was greedy. This goes back to the validation deficit we mentioned earlier. Sarah, her mom, noted this perfectly. No matter how little she ate, the screen showed someone eating less. No matter how thin she got, the screen showed someone thinner.
It is a game you literally cannot win. The goalposts are always moving.
You cannot win. You can only disappear. And that is what was happening to Eloise. She was disappearing.
This leads us to Section 3, The Descent, Life with Ed. And before we get into the actual behaviors at home, there is a key piece of background information about Eloise that I think unlocks a lot of the psychology here. She had a specific phobia.
Yes, this is a crucial detail that Julia Sidwell brings up in the report. Since the age of 6, Eloise had suffered from emetophobia, which is a severe fear of vomiting.
Since she was 6.
Yes, she developed it after a nasty bout of norovirus.
So she already had a very complex relationship with her body and with sickness.
Exactly. Connect the dots here. Emetophobia is often about the fear of losing control. Vomiting is violent. It's the body taking over against your will. Then you have a global pandemic, ultimate loss of control. Then you have the lockdown.
So for Eloise, anorexia wasn't just about vanity.
No, not at all. It wasn't just, I want to look pretty like the girls on TikTok. It was about safety. It was about management.
Food ceased to be nourishment and became a threat to be managed. Like, if I don't eat, I can't get sick.
Food became numbers. If she could count it, she could control it. If she could control it, she was safe. The math became a shield against the anxiety of the outside world.
The report gives some really visceral details about what this looked like in the Truncheon house. And I think it's important for us to share these because if there is a parent listening or a friend, these are the red flags that don't look like dieting. It's not just skipping dessert.
Right. It's the rigidity, the absolute inflexibility. Eloise would deliberate between a small banana versus an apple. She would stare at them, doing the mental calculus. She would count down to a single blueberry.
A single blueberry. Just imagine the mental energy required to make a decision about one berry.
It's an obsession with the data points. And then there were the kitchen dynamics. The kitchen used to be a place of family and warmth, right?
Sure.
Now it was a battleground.
Yeah.
Eloise was standing over Sarah's shoulder, demanding to know every single ingredient going into the pan.
Did you put oil in that? How much cheese is that?
Panicking at the mere sight of oil. To us, oil is just cooking. To her, it was contamination and the outbursts. When the control was threatened, the reaction was explosive, throwing plates of food on the floor.
Which people might mistake for a teenage tantrum.
But it isn't. This is a panic attack manifesting as rage. Her safety mechanism was being tampered with.
There is one story in the report that really stuck with me. The pasta incident. It sounds almost like a scene from a movie, but it happened in their kitchen on a Tuesday.
It's heartbreaking.
Eloise walks into the kitchen. Her mom, Sarah, is just cooking pasta, a normal, boring meal. What happens?
Eloise sees the pasta, which to her is a fear food, a carbohydrate, and she runs. She doesn't just leave the room. She runs out the door, down the street.
Just flees.
Her fight-or-flight response was triggered by a bowl of noodles. Sarah literally has to physically chase her down the street and persuade her to come home.
That is the level of terror we are talking about. It's primal fear.
And while this psychological turmoil is happening, the physical toll is mounting. The body just can't run on adrenaline and anxiety forever. The report details the physical collapse.
What was happening physically?
Her hair started falling out. Her period stopped, which is a classic sign of starvation in young women. The body essentially shuts down the reproductive system to save energy for vital organs.
Just to keep the heart beating.
Exactly. She was too weak to walk properly. She was confined to the sofa, just freezing cold.
Freezing cold inside a heated house.
Because she had no body fat left to keep her warm, she was shivering on the sofa, scrolling through the very app that was doing this to her.
And yet in her mind,
she was being disciplined. This is the core contradiction of the disorder. She thought she was achieving something. She thought she was winning the game the algorithm set up for her. But in reality, as the expert analysis confirms, she was completely falling apart.
it is heartbreaking. She thinks she is building a masterpiece of self-control, but she is actually dismantling her own life brick by brick.
That is the tragedy of anorexia. It lies to you in your own voice. It tells you that you are strong while it actively makes you weak.
We need to talk about the turning point, because often when you are in the house with it every single day, you don't see the gradual change. You adjust to the new normal. You need a shock. So Section 4, the crisis point and diagnosis.
It's the boiling frog effect. Sarah was seeing Eloise every day, so the weight loss, while noticeable, might have been rationalized. Anxiety or picky eating, or she's just growing.
But then came the summer beach trip in 2022. A change of scenery.
A change of context is everything. Seeing Eloise in a bikini for the first time in a while, that was the wake-up call. Sarah saw her daughter's body exposed, without the baggy hoodies, without the blankets.
The reality hit her.
She realized Eloise was way down on the BMI percentile. She saw the bones.
It's interesting, isn't it, the blind spot? Sarah admits she thought it was just a difficult child phase for a long time.
It is a defense mechanism. No parent wants to believe their child has a life-threatening psychiatric illness. You look for the lesser explanation. She's just anxious. She's just being a teenager. But the beach trip removed the blinders. You can't argue with reps showing.
So they go to the doctor, and the word is finally said out loud: anorexia.
That word changes everything. It validates the fear, but it also names the enemy.
How did Eloise react to that? Because I found her reaction fascinating and deeply disturbing. It wasn't just sadness.
No, it was a split reaction. On one hand, there was genuine fear, I might die. That is the rational part of her brain flickering back on. That's the Eloise who loves life. But on the other hand, there was validation. She thought, I am actually ill.
Wait, explain that. Why is I am actually ill a validation? Most people would be devastated to be diagnosed.
Because in the twisted logic of the disorder, being diagnosed means you have succeeded at starving yourself. If the doctor says you are anorexic, it means you did a good job at dieting. It proves you are disciplined enough to be clinically sick. It's a badge of honor for the voice in her head.
And that voice, they had a name for it, right?
Yes. They called it ED. And this was a key strategy for the family. The administrative struggle to get help was brutal. Sarah notes the wheels ground painfully slowly, which is sadly a very common story in mental health care.
The system is overloaded.
Very. But at home, they had to survive while they waited. So Sarah started separating the illness from the daughter. She called the anorexia Ed.
So Ed is being loud today. Or that it's not Eloise talking, that's Ed.
Exactly. Sarah described it as, it was like she was possessed. By externalizing the illness, it allowed Sarah to fight for her daughter against the intruder, rather than fighting with her daughter. It depersonalizes the conflict.
That is such a powerful tool for any family dealing with this. You aren't fighting your child. You are teaming up with your child to fight the monster in the room.
Precisely. It allows the mother to say, I love you, but I hate Ed. And eventually it allows the daughter to hate Ed too.
I want to zoom out for a second. Because Eloise is one girl, and the Truncheons are one family, but she represents a massive systemic failure. Section 5, the bigger picture policy in society.
This is where we look at the scope. The source material cites Ofcom figures. In a single 4-week survey, 16% of teenagers saw material stigmatizing body types or promoting disordered eating.
16%. That is a huge chunk of the population. That's nearly 1 in 5 kids seeing this stuff every single month.
And campaigners equate this harm to violent or explicit videos. We have strict regulations on violence. We have strict regulations on adult content.
Yeah.
If a video showed someone how to build a bomb, it would be taken down immediately.
Right.
But diet tips that lead to starvation, that slips right through the net because it's framed as wellness.
And this has sparked a massive political conversation. The article mentions a government consultation that's happening.
Yes, there is a proposal on the table for a ban on social media for under 16s. This has political support. It was backed by the House of Lords. And it is not happening in a vacuum. It's following the international context, specifically Australia introducing an under 16s ban. The world is starting to wake up to the idea that maybe these tools aren't safe for developing brains.
Now, obviously, we are not here to take a side on the politics of the ban. That's a whole other conversation. But I think it is really important to hear what what Eloise thinks about it. What is her stance?
She is unequivocal. She says, I would definitely be in support of such a ban.
That is pretty direct. No hesitation.
None. She reflects, I could have done without social media. Perhaps then my eating disorder wouldn't have unraveled as badly. She identifies the phone as the accelerant.
The gasoline on the fire.
She believes that without the constant reinforcement of the algorithm, her anxiety might not have turned into full-blown anorexia.
It's a powerful statement from someone who lived through it. But as we analyze this, is a ban a silver bullet?
That is the tension right there. Tech-savvy teens are incredibly good at finding workarounds. VPNs, fake birthdays, secret accounts. There is a strong argument that a ban might just drive the behavior underground where parents can't see it at all.
If Sarah can't see the app, she can't see the danger.
Right. But the sentiment from Eloise is clear. She needed protection that she didn't get.
She needed a guardrail.
She needed a gate. And the tech companies failed to build one.
Let's talk about the way out, because thankfully this story doesn't end in the tragedy it so easily could have. Section 6, the road to recovery.
It was a long road. It wasn't a magic pill. In October 2022, Eloise is finally admitted to an eating disorder day unit.
What does that look like? Is it like a hospital?
It is intense. It's a day unit, so she goes there 5 days a week for 3 months, 13 weeks total. And the core challenge is visceral. Eating meals in front of other people when every instinct in your body is screaming at you to stop.
It's basically exposure therapy with lasagna.
Exactly. It's retraining the brain to realize that food is not a bomb. It's not going to hurt you. But the real shift, the profound therapeutic shift, happened when the conversation changed.
How so?
They stopped talking about food.
Really? In an eating disorder clinic?
Well, not entirely. Obviously, they still had to eat. But the therapy moved beyond the calories and the weight. They started discussing feelings, fears, and control.
Getting to the root.
Yes. Eloise realized that anorexia was a mechanism to feel safe when life felt overwhelming. Once she understood why she was doing it, that she was using starvation to manage her anxiety about the world, she could actually start to dismantle it.
There is a quote here that I absolutely love. Eloise calls it the best advice she ever received.
Recovery isn't about gaining weight, it's about gaining life.
Gaining life.
Yeah.
That is the shift. It's not about the number on the scale going up. It's about your capacity to participate in the world going up. It's about having the energy to dance again.
Exactly. The weight is just the battery power. The life is what you do with it. And to do that, she had to take actionable steps, the most significant one, deleting the calorie counting apps.
Those apps are pervasive. Almost everyone has one on their phone.
And Eloise has a very strong stance on them now. She says, I can't stand them now. I would never recommend them to anyone. She realized these apps turn food into something to fear rather than nourishment. They gamify starvation. They give you a little green check mark for eating less.
It's reclaiming the data. Stop giving your data to the app. Start giving nourishment to your body.
It took another 2 years of hard work after the day unit. Recovery isn't a straight line. There are good days and really bad days. But she did it. She fought Ed and she won.
Which brings us to today. Section 7, advocacy and current reality. Eloise is 19 now. Where is she?
She is reclaiming her life. She's traveling. She's going out with friends. She is living a full life. She's doing all the things the lockdown took away from her. And in a beautiful full circle moment, she now works at the same day unit where she was treated.
That is amazing. She's the guide now.
She is helping other young people navigate the path she walked. She knows exactly what they're feeling because she felt it.
And what about social media? Did she go completely off the grid? throw the phone in the ocean.
No, and this is the interesting part. She is engaging with it, but on her terms. She uses her platform to advocate. She has taken back the tool.
How has her content changed?
Instead of what I eat in a day to stay skinny, she focuses on joy and connection through food. She shows what a healthy body actually looks like, which is a body that moves and lives, not just poses. She posts about the reality of recovery.
And the impact.
She gets messages from girls saying, "You're the reason I started recovery." She's becoming the positive influence her mother thought she was watching years ago.
That is the irony, isn't it?
Yeah.
Sarah thought Eloise was watching positive influences, but she wasn't. Now, Eloise is the positive influence. She is the algorithm breaker.
Exactly. She is injecting reality back into the feed.
Before we wrap up, I want to make sure we deliver Eloise's direct advice. She has a message for the teens listening and a message for the parents.
To the teens, she says, you don't have to earn your worth through numbers on a screen.
That is something I think we all need to hear. Teen or not, your value is not a metric.
And to the parents, watch for anxiety around food. Watch for constant comparison. And most importantly, open the conversation. Don't dismiss it as a phase. Eloise says, "I'm so grateful Mom fought for me."
Mom fought for me. That's the takeaway for the parents. Even when they are screaming at you, even when they're running down the street away from a bowl of pasta, fight for them.
Fight the ed, not the child. Be the anchor when they are drifting.
So what does this all mean? We have journeyed from the lockdown trap to the algorithm spiral, through the darkness of ed, and out the other side to true advocacy.
It is a story of resilience, but it is also a warning shot. We are living in a world where digital shadows are very real.
Social media companies promise protections. They say, we're working on it. They release press releases.
But progress is slow. And as we saw, the algorithm is fast. It learns in seconds. The responsibility, unfortunately, still falls heavily on families to navigate this minefield.
It really makes you think about the architecture of our digital lives. We built these tools to connect us, but sometimes they isolate us in the most dangerous ways possible.
It does.
Here is a provocative thought to leave you with. We know algorithms are designed. They're engineered by brilliant people. Currently, they're designed to keep us engaged by feeding us our own insecurities, because insecurity keeps you clicking.
Fear cells. Inadequacy cells.
Fear cells. But what if we flip the design brief? How do we redesign our digital environment so they feed us nourishment instead of fear? What would an algorithm look like that was optimized for mental health rather than watch time? What if the app turned itself off when it sensed you were spiraling?
That is the billion-dollar question, and until we answer it, we have to be the guardians of our own feeds.
Eloise Trunchen's story is a reminder that we can unplug, we can recover, and we can gain life. Thank you for joining us on this deep dive.
It's been a privilege.
Take care of yourselves, and maybe, just for today, put the phone down and enjoy a meal with someone you love. We'll see you next time.